Yeah, okay, this isn't the part, but this is gonna be kind of... Oh, this is sick!
Half-Life Alyx is the newest installment of the Half-Life franchise, which released in March of 2020. The game is exclusive to VR and was actually rated as VR Game of the Year in the Game Awards. Needless to say, the experience is absolutely amazing and personally the best game I've ever played, VR or non-VR. However, is there a definitive way to play the game? Is there a way to play the game that would further the experience, gameplay and immersion beyond what the base game already offers? The answer is yes, and it's bHaptics. Okay, so in this video I'll just be going over the integration of both the bHaptics tac suit and the Tactosy For Arms with Half-Life Alyx. Just note before we start that I do have the older version of the X40, the newer version's just released as you saw in the trailer. However, they do work the exact same way, they have the exact same motors, so you should get a very similar experience to me, given that you have the X40. Okay, so the structure of the video will be as follows. First, I'll just be going over the setup, so I'll just be guiding you through how to actually get the haptics working with Half-Life Alyx, as it is slightly different for every game. And then I'll just be reviewing the actual setup, so how easy was it, are there a lot of external programs or files needed, blah blah blah. I'll just be giving it a review score out of 5, based on how easy and straightforward it was. Then after this I'll just be going over the gameplay integration, so just talking about how well the haptics is actually integrated with the game itself, because obviously some games are going to be integrated better and some will be integrated worse. I'll be also giving this a general score out of 5, and then finally I'll just be going over conclusion, so I will add up the scores from the first 2 sections and just average them out to give you a final score out of 5, and you can then decide if you think it's worth it or not for you. Okay, so the setup is actually really easy. Just note that this is not a natively supported game, it's run via a mod, which was made by user Shizof. So the steps are as follows. First, navigate to your Steam library, right click Half-Life Alyx and select Properties. Locate the General tab and under Launch Options enter the following. CONDEBUG, so it should read ConDebug. After this, just launch the bHaptics player, and then from the bHaptics player launch the bHaptics portal. After this, navigate to the Half-Life Alyx panel and click the little eye icon, then click the mod download link as you can see. After this, navigate to the files section and do the following. So the file that says scripts will be installed inside game folder required, download this file. Once it's downloaded, extract the contents to your Half-Life Alyx directory. If you don't know where this is, you can find it by going into your Steam library and then right-clicking Half-Life Alyx, selecting Manage, then Browse Local Files. This will show you where the game directory is located. The next file to download is the bHaptics tac suit integration tool required. So download this. It can be downloaded to anywhere you like, but try to put it somewhere that it's easily accessible, so I'd recommend putting it onto your desktop. Once you've downloaded both of these files, run the tacsuitalyx.exe file within the integration tool, then select your Half-Life Alyx directory, which we found before. Do this by clicking Browse, then navigating to the directory. And that's it. It's really easy. It only takes like a minute or 2 in total maybe. So whenever you want to play, you have to launch the bHaptics player, then connect your vests and any accessories you have, and then run the tacsuitalyx.exe just by pressing start. You could also run it through the bHaptics portal if you prefer. I actually just keep it on my desktop in a folder, so I just open it up and then run the tacsuitalyx.exe every time I want to play. And that's it, just enjoy, it's pretty good. So overall, I would say that the setup was quite easy. The steps are really simple, as you just saw. It should not really cause any problems for people who use VR regularly. And the only potential room for improvement that I would say is if it was natively supported rather than having to run it through a mod. Especially having to launch the Tactosy For Arms.exe every single time you want to play. There's only one external file needed, as well as one program which was used to run the haptics. However, once it's one installed, it is very easy to get running every time you want to play. It doesn't take long to just run one program and just run it before you start the game. The steps to follow overall, I would say, are quite simple, and the maximum I would say it takes for anyone should be around 5 minutes, which is not long at all for the amount of enjoyment that you'll get out of it. So for all of these reasons, I think it's fair to give it a 4 out of 5 score. Maybe you think it deserves a 5 out of 5, but the fact is that it's just not natively supported, which is what I think it needs to be in order for a game to get a 5 out of 5 score. It should just work in theory, so it should just be as easy as downloading and running the mod through the bHaptics portal directly and just playing, that's it. Or even better, for example, there's a game called Tower Tag which has a native bHaptics support. So to get that running, the only thing that you need to do is just go into a game menu and just check a tick box that says enable bHaptics support or something like that. So it's really easy. I think it should just be as easy as that, to be honest. The fact that you have to mess on with just a few files might be a slight turn off for people who are not super into haptics or maybe on the edge of buying one. When you combine the setups of all these different games with different setup times and processes, it might be a little bit of a turn off for some people, maybe not. There might be a small chance of error if you accidentally choose the wrong directory path or something like that. That's the only thing I can think of for this. However, this is really easy to fix once you realize your mistake. So saying all of this, I do think that the setup is definitely worth it, just due to the fact that the payoff is playing the best VR game at a level of immersion that you just can't get otherwise. The difference between playing with haptics or without haptics is just night and day, to be honest. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth the setup. Maybe it could be streamlined a little bit in future if it gets native support, but overall I'd say it's really easy and just great, so definitely do it. Okay, so now let's just get into the gameplay and integration. So there's a huge number of haptic actions that will trigger throughout your playthrough of the main campaign, but they will actually also work on any additional workshop content that you decide to download after. This is actually amazing because it offers pretty much an infinite amount of replayability after you finish the main campaign, since there's so many really talented people always coming out with new maps and levels through the Steam Workshop, all of which are free. So I might actually cover some of those in future as well. So how well are the haptics integrated into the game? I would say really well. Probably some of the best integration I've seen from bHaptics. More or less everything that you would expect to be integrated is integrated. So for example, when you are attacked, a number of things can happen depending on the nature of the attack. Unarmed attack from zombies would relay a sort of slash or swipe effect based on the direction and the speed of the hit. So if they hit you with their arm and it was diagonally downward, you would feel a sweeping hit sort of sensation corresponding to the direction and speed of the attack. So for example, if you're also hit from the back, you would feel a swiping sensation from the back, as you can see in the video. And this basically pretty much works in more or less every single direction. Another example is if a head crab leaps at your face, if you have the face tactile, for example, a squeezing or pulsing sensation would occur as if you're being squeezed by the head crab. If you don't have it, it still squeezes your chest and your body as you feel the impact of it landing on top of you. And a similar squeezing sensation would also occur when you're being grabbed by a barnacle, so it sort of feel like you're being strangled or something like that. So attacks are not just limited to unarmed enemies. Combined soldiers with guns, of course, would relay a quick hard gun shot sensation, which definitely adds to the immersion in my opinion, especially since it's placement sensitive and it's really accurate. So if you're shot in the belly, you'll feel it in the belly. If you're shot in the shoulder, you'll feel it in the shoulder, etc. The intensity and impact and just overall feel of the haptics also vary depending on the enemy type. So for example, it will change based on combined with normal guns or shotguns. There's a lot more enemy types, but I don't want to spoil anything, and also I don't want this video to be too long. But just know that for every enemy and every variation of that enemy, usually a different haptic sensation will play. This is great because it really adds a lot of variety to the gameplay, especially on your first playthrough with the haptics, as you don't know how anything is going to feel, so it's just overall a really cool experience, I think. So we covered when you're being attacked, but what about when you're attacking and performing other actions? So this is expected, but you will of course receive feedback when firing different types of guns. Even the base pistol feels really punchy, and you feel a definite recoil sensation that starts off somewhat intense at the base of your shoulder and then gradually lessens as your body absorbs the recoil, eventually fading towards the center or right side of your chest if you're right-handed, and vice versa obviously if you're left-handed. This honestly is really cool and never gets old throughout the entire campaign. Just to add to this, if you have the Tactosy For Arms, the vibration can also be felt throughout those too, so it'll just be a really strong sensation every single time you fire a different bullet, and for different guns in the games you'll get different or more stronger or weaker
sensations. So for example, obviously the shotgun is the most powerful, it fires the hardest in the game, so you'll feel the strongest sensation there. The SMG is a bit weaker, so you'll feel a lesser sensation and so on. Okay, so just to list off some more quickly, the health station gives a really nice sweeping effect, just going up and down the vest, which makes you feel like you're regenerating health, which is really cool. A similar effect is also given with, actually no, the same effect is given with the health syringe, which is cool. So a small rumble sort of effect is played when items such as bullets or resin are dropped behind your shoulder into your backpack, which just gives the impression of weight landing in the bottom of your backpack or behind you. Okay, so I don't want to keep going on and on about every single different action in the game. I'll just list off some more really quickly. If you want a full list, you can go to the Nexus mods page for the bHaptics mod, and you can read about it there. So when reloading a gun, you can feel a sensation, storing items in wrist pockets, gravity gloves sensation when locking onto or pulling objects from afar, coughing effect when poisoned, different effects for different grenade types, and fast or slow heartbeat effects when health is either low or very low, and loads more. So as you can see, there's actually just a huge amount of variety in the haptic responses, so you definitely will not be getting bored of them anytime soon. If I had to nitpick one thing, I haven't actually tested this with every single cutscene in the game, but for example, in the first chapter, so light spoilers for the first chapter, is for the cutscene at the end. So when the drone comes up to you when you're in the elevator shaft and the guards are pointing their guns at you, when the drone comes up to you and scans you, I was expecting the haptics to trigger the scanning response, however nothing happened. This is kind of strange because there's even a preset response for this in the bHaptics app. It's called like a scanner or scan or something, which is kind of weird that it doesn't trigger in game. It's not that big of a deal. So just to add to this, when the big combine soldier comes up to you shortly after that and shocks you, I was expecting a shock response, however there was nothing. I'm not sure if this is just something to do with the game or with the mod. I'm not sure why it didn't trigger for me. I haven't tried this in the other cutscenes. Maybe it's just this one time. But if you played through the other cutscenes with the haptics, let me know if they do or don't. But yeah, this is just a really minor nitpick that they didn't trigger in cutscenes for me. So just to quickly summarize the gameplay and integration section, I know I've said this a million times already, but I really do think the haptics really just heighten the immersion to a whole new level and just add to just making me feel like I'm really there. I think it's definitely worth playing with, and based on everything I've said, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. I know I did nitpick that scene thing, that cutscene issue, but I don't really think that's that big of a deal, and it does not really subtract from the overall experience. So I think a 5 out of 5 is more than fair, especially for this game. So let me just preface the conclusion just by saying that I don't think that the vest or accessories are worth buying just to play for any one singular game. It's a lot of money. It is like an investment that you're going to be using for a long time. So the recommendation on whether to get the vest or any accessories or not is based upon the assumption that you would also be using the haptics with other supported games, whatever they may be. So like Pavlov, Beat Saber, Population 1, I might go over those games as well in further reviews, but I don't think the price tag justifies playing just one game, even if it is a new Half-Life game. Unless like you're a millionaire or something, then yeah, I get it.
Got him! Got him!
Having said that, I do believe that the cost of admission and setup are definitely worth it for Half-Life Alyx, as the experience is just the sort of thing you experience once in a lifetime. Especially the first time you play it, and make sure you enjoy it as much as you can, because you'll never play it for the first time again. If you can play it with haptics, it just makes it even better. Just having the main actions of the game directly correlate to how you are physically feeling in real life is just insane. And to be honest, I just see the haptics getting better and better from here. There's always new games coming out with new supported features, so there's a lot to look forward to. I don't think you would use the vest and then just drop it after one game. So pairing the really great gameplay and integration of haptics with the easy to follow and quick setup, which just makes for a really amazing time. Adding the scores up from the previous sections and averaging them out gives a final rating for the Half-Life experience a 4.5 out of 5. So I would highly recommend playing this with the vest, and also the Tactosy For Arms if you also have them, as they both work really well together. If you have to choose one or the other, I would say get the vest. The arms are good, but the vest is more necessary, I would say. So thank you for watching. I hope this was useful, and subscribe. Actually no, do what you want. There's always new games coming out with new supports, new support. What the hell? There's always new games coming out with new supported features, so there's a lot to look forward to.